The night was thick and suffocating, the air heavy with moisture and the smell of wet earth. 5 women soldiers moved carefully through the dense jungle, their footsteps muffled by layers of leaves and moss. Their night vision goggles cast an eerie green glow, illuminating twisted roots and shadowed branches that seemed to reach out like unseen hands. The radio crackled faintly in the background, a low static whispering through the darkness. Captain Maya Khan led the patrol with steady eyes scanning the terrain. Every sound, the rustling of leaves, the distant call of a night bird, felt amplified in the quiet night. The jungle was alive, but it was not a friendly life. It was a predator waiting for the right moment. The patrol pressed on, their rifles raised and senses alert. Suddenly, the radio transmission broke through the static. Base, this is Patrol Echo 1. Approaching the designated coordinates. No visual on targets yet. Over. The voice was calm, professional, but tense. Maya listened closely, her fingers tightening on her rifle. She was about to reply when the crackling stopped. Silence swallowed the radio. Echo 1, do you copy? This is Base. Over, Maya said into her own radio, her voice steady but edged with concern. The only response was the same static buzz. Minutes passed like hours. The jungle seemed to grow darker, the silence heavier. The rest of the base was on edge, waiting for any sign from the missing patrol. Finally, the radio operator's face paled. They're gone. No signal at all. Maya felt a cold shiver run down her spine. This was not a usual communication failure. Something had happened. The patrol had vanished. Back at the command tent, the atmosphere was tense and urgent. Maps were spread across the table, and officers moved quickly, voices hushed but anxious. Maya's phone buzzed. The order was clear. Assemble a rescue squad immediately. She had to lead the search herself. The thought of sending more soldiers into the jungle at night was unsettling, but the missing patrol were her responsibility. She knew these women. They were trained, capable, and strong, but the jungle was an unpredictable enemy. As Maya gathered her team, she looked each soldier in the eye. There was no room for fear or hesitation. They were all aware that every second counted. Their mission was simple in words, but impossible in reality. Find the missing patrol and bring them home. They moved out under the cover of darkness, the moonlight barely filtering through the thick canopy above. The jungle noises seemed louder now, the distant drip of water, the snap of a twig, the flutter of wings nearby. Maya's squad advanced cautiously, their rifles raised and night vision goggles scanning every shadow. The tension was palpable. Every rustle made them jump. Every moment of silence made their hearts pound harder. The jungle seemed to close in around them, thick vines hanging like traps, the ground uneven and slippery with mud. They communicated only in whispers and hand signals, knowing the enemy could be anywhere. After an hour of slow, careful movement, Maya stopped her squad. Ahead, there were signs of disturbance. Broken branches, crushed leaves, footprints partially hidden by mud. Someone had been here recently. The squad moved in tighter formation, eyes searching for anything that could explain what happened to the patrol. As they followed the trail deeper into the jungle, the air grew colder, the darkness more suffocating. Maya could feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on them all. The jungle was not just a backdrop, it was a living maze of danger, where one wrong step could lead to disaster. Suddenly, the radio crackled to life with a burst of static. Maya grabbed it instantly, hope rising in her chest. But the transmission was faint, broken, almost indecipherable. Help? Trapped coordinates enemy. The voice was weak, desperate. And then it went silent again. Maya's jaw tightened. The missing patrol was alive, but in trouble. The rescue had just become a race against time. Her squad moved faster now, adrenaline sharpening their focus. They were no longer just searching. They were hunting for their sisters in arms, navigating a hostile jungle that seemed to close around them like a shroud. With every step, the tension grew thicker. Maya knew the coming hours would test them all, their courage, their skill, and their will to survive. The night was far from over, and the jungle held its secrets close. But one thing was certain: they would not leave anyone behind. The moment the call came through, Captain Maya Khan was already alert. The faint buzz of the radio sliced through the stillness of the night, dragging her from restless thoughts. Captain Khan, you are ordered to lead a rescue operation. Patrol Echo 1 is missing. Time is critical. Her heart tightened, but her face remained calm, hardened by years of command. She moved quickly but deliberately, gathering her squad of elite soldiers. Each woman was a specialist. Expert trackers, marksmen, and survivalists, chosen not just for their skills, but for their unbreakable will. Maya knew the jungle like the back of her hand, but tonight the shadows felt heavier, the silence more threatening. They assembled in the briefing tent under dim lights. Maps marked with red ink covered the table, showing the last known coordinates of the missing patrol. "We don't know what happened out there," Maya said, her voice low but resolute. "They disappeared without sending a distress signal. We have no idea if they were ambushed or trapped. What we do know is we don't leave anyone behind." Her squad nodded, faces illuminated by the pale glow of night vision goggles and the occasional flicker of a lighter as they checked their gear. Rifles were cleaned, night scopes calibrated, communication devices tested. Every detail mattered. Every piece of equipment was a lifeline. As they stepped out into the humid night, the jungle greeted them like an old adversary, silent, watching, and waiting. The canopy above swallowed the moonlight, leaving only darkness and the faint green of their goggles. Every sound was magnified: the crunch of leaves, the drip of water from the thick foliage, the distant call of an unseen creature. Captain Maya led the way, her senses sharp. She whispered commands through the radio, guiding the squad in tight formation. The women moved with practiced stealth, their footsteps careful not to disturb the fragile balance of the jungle floor. Every shadow seemed alive. The squad could feel eyes on them, the lurking presence of the enemy woven into the rustling leaves and shifting branches. They were not just walking into the jungle, they were stepping into a hunter's lair. Time stretched and folded. Minutes felt like hours as the squad followed the faint trail left by the missing patrol. Broken twigs, disturbed earth, fragments of cloth, small clues that hinted at a struggle. Maya's throat tightened. The trail was fresh, but led deeper into the unknown, where danger multiplied with every step. Suddenly, a distant sound pierced the silence, a low, guttural growl that stopped the squad in their tracks. Rifles raised, fingers on triggers, they scanned the darkness. The growl faded, but the warning was clear. The jungle was no place for the faint-hearted. Maya signaled to move forward, her voice a whisper through the radio. "Stay close. Eyes sharp. We're close." They pressed on, the atmosphere thick with tension. The jungle felt alive, as if it was breathing with them, shifting and closing around their small group. Every snap of a twig or rustle of leaves kept their nerves taut. Suddenly, the radio crackled again. This time, it was a brief, broken transmission from the missing patrol. "Help, trapped, coordinates, enemy nearby." The words were fragmented, desperate. Then silence. Maya's heart pounded. "They're alive," she said softly but firmly. "And they need us." The squad quickened their pace, navigating tangled vines and slippery mud. Every step was a battle against the terrain and the unknown enemy lurking just beyond sight. Maya's mind raced through possible scenarios. Were the patrol captured? Injured? Could they be outnumbered? The jungle gave no answers, only more questions. As they moved, Maya felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. This was more than a mission. It was a promise to bring her sisters home, no matter the cost. With each passing moment, the danger grew. But so did their determination. They were the hunters now, chasing shadows through a jungle that tested their courage and resolve at every turn. The night was far from over, and the rescue had only just begun. The jungle was alive with sounds, whispers of leaves brushing against one another, distant animal calls, and the faint drip of water falling from thick foliage. Captain Mayakon's squad moved like shadows, silent and precise, their night vision goggles painting the world in eerie shades of green. Every inch of the dense undergrowth was a potential hiding spot for danger. Maya's eyes scanned every movement, every flicker in the darkness. The air was thick with humidity, making each breath feel heavy. The ground beneath their boots was uneven, covered with tangled roots and slick moss. A single misstep could mean injury, or worse. The squad communicated only through soft hand signals and quiet whispers, their rifles raised and ready. The jungle wasn't just a setting, it was an enemy in itself, a living maze designed to confuse and trap. But Maya's team was trained to navigate it with deadly efficiency. As they advanced deeper, the silence between them was tense. Each woman fought to keep her nerves in check, knowing that at any moment, the missing patrol could be found, or they could walk straight into an ambush. Suddenly, a faint rustle caught Maya's attention. She froze and raised her hand, signaling the squad to halt. The sound came again, something moving swiftly through the bushes. The team crouched low, weapons aimed toward the noise. A small animal darted out, disappearing into the shadows. Relief washed over Maya, but the warning lingered. The jungle's unpredictability was exhausting, and every noise kept them on edge. They pressed forward, following the faint trail left by the missing patrol. It was patchy, crushed leaves here, broken branches there, but enough to guide them through the darkness. The team's pace quickened, fueled by the urgency of their mission. Minutes later, they reached a small clearing where the signs of recent human activity were undeniable. Footprints muddied by rain, a torn piece of fabric snagged on a thorny bush, and a faint scent of smoke in the air. Maya knelt to inspect the evidence, her mind piecing together what little they had. The patrol had been here. They had struggled. The squad's faces grew grim. The jungle was no longer just a maze. They were walking through a battlefield, one where their missing comrades might still be trapped, wounded, or worse. Maya motioned for silence and led the squad to the edge of the clearing. Through the thick vines, she spotted something unusual, a faint flicker of light, barely visible but unmistakable. A fire, perhaps? It could be a camp or a trap. Her heart raced. "Stay sharp," she whispered. The squad moved cautiously toward the light, every step measured, every sense alert. As they closed in, the jungle sound seemed to fade, replaced by a tense stillness. The firelight danced through the leaves, casting long shadows on the uneven ground. Maya raised her hand again, signaling the squad to spread out and secure the perimeter. They found a small campsite, abandoned in haste. Scattered supplies lay overturned, a half-eaten meal left to rot. No signs of the missing patrol were visible, but the place spoke volumes. There had been a struggle here, and whatever had happened, it was recent. Maya's stomach tightened. They were close, closer than ever. The jungle was no longer just a place to search. It was a puzzle waiting to be solved. As they gathered evidence, the radio crackled again. A broken voice, faint but urgent, called out, "Help, coordinates enemy," then static swallowed the transmission. Maya clenched her jaw. The missing patrol was alive and somewhere nearby. The squad moved out with renewed determination, pushing deeper into the shadowed jungle. The enemy was close, and every moment counted. The night stretched on, thick with danger and uncertainty. But Captain Maya Khan and her squad were relentless. They were hunters now, chasing not just shadows, but the lives of their sisters in arms. The jungle held its secrets tightly, but they were determined to uncover them, no matter the cost. The broken branch lay like a silent scream on the jungle floor. Captain Maya Khan crouched low, her fingers tracing the snapped twig. It was fresh, too fresh. Nearby, crushed leaves bore the faint imprint of boot soles, muddied and smeared by rain. The patrol had passed through here recently, but something had gone terribly wrong. Her squad moved cautiously, each soldier scanning the dense foliage with sharp eyes and twitching nerves. The jungle was a maze of shifting shadows and hidden threats. The air was thick with humidity, sweat running down their backs despite the cool night. Every breath tasted of damp earth and tension. Maya's mind raced. The missing patrol hadn't just disappeared, they'd been ambushed. The evidence was everywhere. In the broken branches, the disturbed undergrowth, the faint stains of blood on a torn piece of fabric snagged on a thorn. The enemy had struck fast and silent, taking advantage of the jungle's dark embrace. The squad tightened their formation. Every movement was deliberate, every sound a potential alarm. The jungle wasn't just a backdrop. It was an active participant, swallowing footsteps and hiding dangers in plain sight. As they pressed forward, Maya spotted something unusual, a shallow depression in the mud, surrounded by scuffed leaves. It looked like a struggle, a desperate attempt to escape. Her stomach churned. The patrol had fought. They hadn't gone quietly. Suddenly, a faint noise echoed through the trees, a soft groan, barely audible but unmistakable. Maya froze, signaling her squad to halt. The sound came again, weak and strained. Someone was alive. Her heart hammered in her chest. "We have to move," she whispered, voice low but urgent. The squad advanced toward the noise, moving through tangled vines and thick roots with cautious speed. The groan led them to a narrow ravine, barely visible beneath the jungle's overgrowth. At the bottom, half hidden by ferns and shadows, lay one of the missing soldiers. She was battered and bruised, her uniform torn, but alive. Relief flooded Maya's chest, mixed with fierce determination. The squad quickly secured the area. The injured soldier's breathing was shallow but steady. She managed a faint smile when Maya knelt beside her. "You're safe now," Maya said, gripping her hand firmly. "We're getting you out." But their mission was far from over. As they prepared to move the injured woman, Maya noticed fresh footprints leading away from the ravine, more signs that the enemy was close. The jungle around them seemed to tighten, the darkness growing thicker. Every shadow could hide a threat. "Stay alert," Maya ordered, eyes scanning the underbrush. The enemy was hunting, and so were they. The squad moved carefully, carrying their wounded comrade through the treacherous terrain. The weight of the rescue pressed heavily on their shoulders, but their resolve was unbreakable. Suddenly, a sharp crack shattered the silence, twigs snapping under heavy footsteps. The squad froze, weapons raised. From the shadows emerged figures cloaked in camouflage, eyes gleaming with hostile intent. The firefight erupted instantly. Bullets tore through the night air, and the jungle echoed with shouts and gunfire. Maya's squad fought with fierce precision, covering each other as they engaged the enemy. The injured soldier was shielded by a quick-moving teammate, the squad's training shining through the chaos. The battle was brutal but brief. The enemy retreated into the darkness, leaving behind a trail of scattered leaves and silence. Maya's squad took a moment to regroup, hearts pounding, breaths heavy. They knew this was only the beginning. The jungle held more dangers, and their missing comrades might still be trapped deeper within its grasp. With no time to waste, Maya signaled the squad forward. The trail was cold, but still led into the unknown. The rescue was far from over, and every step could be their last. But they would not turn back. Not now. Not ever. The jungle seemed to close in tighter as Captain Maya Khan's squad pressed deeper into the unknown. Every breath was a struggle against the suffocating humidity. Every step a battle against tangled roots and slick mud. The weight of their mission pressed down on them like the heavy canopy above. They carried their wounded sister with care, but the urgency was undeniable. Time was running out. The silence between them was thick with tension. The earlier firefight had rattled the squad, but it had also sharpened their focus. They knew the enemy was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. Maya's eyes flicked constantly through the night vision goggles, searching for the faintest hint of movement, the smallest disturbance in the undergrowth. As they moved forward, the faint glow of a flickering light appeared through the dense foliage ahead. Maya signaled for the squad to halt and crouch low. The light was unnatural, a small campfire burning in a clearing. It was a risky spot to be in, too open for comfort, but it was a sign. Someone had been here recently. Maya's heart pounded in her chest. Could this be the missing patrol's last refuge? Or was it a trap set by the enemy? She weighed the possibilities quickly before signaling her team to approach, weapons ready. The squad moved with stealth, surrounding the clearing cautiously. The fire's glow illuminated discarded gear, empty canteens, scattered rations, and a torn piece of a uniform caught on a nearby branch. The scene was chaotic, as if the occupants had fled suddenly. A faint noise caught Maya's attention, a barely audible whisper carried on the humid air. She motioned for silence and listened closely. The whisper grew louder, followed by a soft cry. Help! The word was strained and desperate. Maya's pulse quickened. They were close. She led the squad toward the sound, pushing through the thick vines and bushes. The cries grew clearer, guiding them deeper into the jungle's heart. Suddenly, the ground beneath their feet gave way to a hidden pit, camouflaged by leaves and branches. Maya caught herself just in time, grabbing a nearby tree trunk to steady herself. "Watch your step," she warned her squad, eyes sharp. They skirted the pit carefully, moving around the dangerous trap. Maya's mind raced. If the enemy had set this, what other dangers lay ahead? They continued, following the cries until they reached a narrow ravine, shrouded in darkness. The sound came from below. Maya peered down to see two figures, bound and bruised, huddled together. Their faces were pale, eyes wide with relief and fear. "We're here," Maya called softly. "Hold on, we're getting you out." The squad quickly descended into the ravine, cutting the captives free. The missing soldiers were weak but alive, their spirits lifted by the sight of rescuers. Maya's squad provided immediate first aid, sharing water and supplies. Suddenly, a rustle from above snapped everyone's attention upward. The enemy was closing in again, no doubt tracking their movements. "Get them up now," Maya ordered. The squad moved quickly, lifting the rescued soldiers and moving back toward safer ground. The enemy wasn't far behind. Shadows moved in the distance, accompanied by the low hum of voices and footsteps. A burst of gunfire shattered the tense air. Maya's squad returned fire, covering the retreat. Bullets kicked up dirt and debris, the jungle alive with chaos. The rescue was turning into a desperate fight for survival. Maya pushed forward, leading her squad and the rescued patrol through the dense jungle. The sounds of pursuit grew louder, echoing through the trees. Each second felt like an eternity, the weight of every life in her hands. They reached a rocky outcrop where they could catch their breath and regroup. The wounded were stabilized, and Maya sent a quick radio update to base. The extraction team was en route, but would take time to reach them. The jungle was still unforgiving, but for now, they had hope. Maya looked at her squad, tired, battered, but unbroken. The night was far from over, and dangers still lurked. But they had found their sisters in arms, and they would not leave until every one of them was safe. The jungle had shifted, its weight pressing down harder as Captain Mayakon's squad huddled behind the rocky outcrop. The rescued soldiers were weak but alive, and every second felt precious. The humid air was thick with the scent of damp earth and distant rain. The faint sounds of enemy pursuit still echoed through the trees, a relentless reminder that they were far from safe. Maya's voice was steady as she checked on each rescued soldier. "You're safe now. Hold tight, we'll get you out of here." Their eyes flickered with hope, but exhaustion and pain were etched deep on their faces. The squad quickly administered first aid, bandaging wounds and sharing water from their limited supplies. Every movement was careful, deliberate. They couldn't afford mistakes. The radio crackled with static. Then a clear voice broke through. "Extraction team, ETA 10 minutes. Hold your position." Relief washed over the squad, but Maya knew those 10 minutes could stretch into an eternity in this unforgiving jungle. "Keep your weapons ready," Maya warned. "Enemy could try to cut us off before help arrives." Her team nodded, eyes sharp and scanning the dense undergrowth. The jungle seemed to hold its breath, the usual chorus of nocturnal creatures hushed under the tension. Suddenly, a twig snapped sharply nearby. The squad froze. Maya signaled everyone to take cover. Shadows shifted just beyond the tree line, figures moving silently through the darkness. The enemy was closing in. "Ambush!" Maya hissed, and rifles raised instantly. The jungle erupted into chaos as gunfire cracked through the night. The squad responded with precision, firing controlled bursts to suppress the attackers. Maya fired from behind a large boulder, her pulse pounding as she called out commands. "Hold the line. Protect the wounded." The firefight was intense but brief. The enemy retreated as quickly as they'd appeared, melting back into the shadows. Maya took a moment to catch her breath, scanning the tree line for any sign of a renewed assault. "We can't stay here," she said firmly. "Extraction is close, but we need to move. Stay sharp." The squad lifted their injured and the rescued patrol, moving swiftly but carefully through the thick jungle. Every step was a challenge. Roots threatened to trip them, mud pulled at their boots, and branches scratched at their faces. Yet they moved with purpose, driven by duty and the fierce bond between soldiers. The jungle around them seemed to pulse with danger, each rustle a potential threat. But Maya's team was relentless, their focus unbreakable. As they neared the extraction point, a sudden, sharp crack rang out, a sniper's bullet tearing through the air, narrowly missing one of Maya's squad members. They dropped to the ground instantly, seeking cover. "Sniper!" Maya shouted, scanning the treetops. The enemy was desperate and their tactics ruthless. Maya made a quick decision. Split into two groups. One provides cover, the other advances to the extraction point. "Move!" Her squad split, the tension thick in the air. The group providing cover unleashed suppressive fire, keeping the sniper pinned down. Meanwhile, Maya led the second group forward, weaving through the dense jungle. The sound of rotors soon filled the air, a helicopter approaching, its blades chopping through the night. Maya's heart lifted. They were moments away from safety. The extraction zone was a small clearing, bathed in the harsh light of the helicopter's floodlights. Maya and her group reached it first, helping the wounded aboard. The others covered their retreat, holding the enemy at bay. The last of Maya's squad climbed into the helicopter, the aircraft rising swiftly into the sky. Below, the jungle faded into a sea of green shadows. Inside the helicopter, the wounded were tended to, the hum of machines mingling with the soft murmur of relief. Maya allowed herself a brief moment to breathe. The rescue was over. They had found their sisters, fought back the darkness, and survived the night. But Maya knew this was only one battle in a longer war. The jungle had tested them, pushed them to their limits. And they had endured. As the helicopter soared toward the safety of the base, Maya looked out over the dense canopy disappearing beneath them. The night was still thick with secrets, but for now, her squad was together, alive, unbroken, and ready for whatever came next. The helicopter's roar faded as they landed back at base, the jungle left behind like a dark memory. Captain Maya Khan stepped off the aircraft, her boots heavy on the ground, but her spirit unbroken. Around her, the squad moved with quiet relief, tending to wounds and exchanging tired but grateful glances. The missing patrol was safe, but the weight of what they had faced lingered. Inside the medical tent, Maya sat beside one of the rescued soldiers, her eyes searching for answers in the weary face. The soldier's voice was weak but determined. "We were ambushed. Enemy knew our every move. They tracked us like prey." The words hung heavy in the air. The jungle had betrayed them, and the enemy had been waiting. Maya nodded, her mind already racing ahead. This mission had exposed a deeper threat, a hostile force embedded within the dense jungle, using it as a fortress. The missing patrol had walked into a carefully laid trap, one designed to break their spirits and their bodies. But Maya's squad had fought back. Their courage, training, and unyielding bond had brought them through the night. Yet, the mission wasn't just about rescue anymore, it was a warning. That evening, under the dim light of the command tent, Maya gathered her squad. Maps were spread across the table, dotted with red marks showing enemy activity. "This isn't over," she said firmly. "We've uncovered a network of hostile forces operating deep in the jungle. Their presence threatens the safety of our region." The room was silent, the gravity of the situation sinking in. "We're going back," Maya continued. "This time, not just to rescue, but to dismantle their operations. We have to be smarter, faster, and stronger." Her squad exchanged determined looks. They had faced the worst the jungle could throw at them and survived. Now, they would take the fight to the enemy. In the days that followed, preparations began. New intel was gathered, equipment upgraded, and strategies refined. Maya's team trained relentlessly, pushing their bodies and minds to the limit. Night drills, survival exercises, and tactical simulations became their routine. They studied the enemy's patterns, learning to anticipate and outmaneuver. Maya spent long hours reviewing satellite imagery, piecing together the puzzle of the jungle's hidden battleground. The enemy was elusive but not invincible. Every clue, every movement, brought them closer to turning the tide. Finally, the day arrived. The squad stood ready at the edge of the jungle, their faces set with resolve. Maya looked over her team, the women who had become more than soldiers. They were sisters bound by shared trials and unbreakable trust. "Remember," Maya said, voice steady and commanding, This mission is more than a fight for survival. It's a fight for our future. We move together, watch each other's backs, and bring the enemy down. As they stepped into the jungle's dark embrace once more, the atmosphere was different. The fear that had gripped them before was replaced by focused determination. The jungle was no longer a mysterious enemy. It was a battlefield they intended to own. Every step was calculated, every breath controlled. The squad navigated the terrain with precision, blending into the shadows and using the jungle's complexity to their advantage. They moved quietly but with purpose, hunting the hunters. The deeper they went, the more signs of the enemy appeared: campsites, booby traps, encrypted communication devices. Maya's team dismantled each threat with expert efficiency, leaving nothing behind. But the jungle was unforgiving. The squad faced constant challenges: hidden snipers, sudden ambushes, and the ever-present danger of the terrain itself. Yet, with each obstacle, their bond grew stronger, their resolve fiercer. In the heart of the jungle, they finally reached the enemy's main encampment. It was a sprawling network of tents, weapons, and supplies, a fortress hidden beneath the green canopy. Maya signaled the squad to prepare for the assault. Hearts pounded, rifles loaded, minds focused. The battle that followed was fierce and unrelenting. Gunfire echoed through the trees. Voices shouted commands and warnings. But Maya's squad moved as one, fluid, deadly, unstoppable. When the dust settled, the enemy was defeated. Their stronghold destroyed, their threat neutralized. Exhausted but victorious, Maya looked around at her squad. They had fought through darkness and danger, emerging stronger and unbroken. The jungle had tested them, but in the end, it was their courage and unity that prevailed. They had not just survived, they had won. The jungle was eerily quiet after the battle, the heavy weight of silence pressing down on Captain Mayakan and her squad. The enemy stronghold was nothing more than smoldering ruins now, the air thick with smoke and the scent of scorched earth. Exhaustion clawed at their bodies, but none dared show weakness. They had come too far, sacrificed too much, to let fatigue dull their victory. Maya surveyed the faces around her, the dirt-streaked, sweat-soaked expressions of her squad. They were battered but alive, their eyes reflecting a mix of relief, sorrow, and fierce pride. Each woman had endured moments when hope seemed lost, yet they had refused to give in. "Mission accomplished," Maya said quietly, her voice steady but soft. "We've broken their grip on this jungle. The threat is over." Her words hung in the humid air, a fragile moment of peace after the storm. But victory carried its own heavy burden. The cost was written in the scars they bore and the empty spaces left by those who hadn't made it back. Maya thought of the missing patrol, their friends and sisters in arms, who had paid the ultimate price. Their memories were a solemn reminder of the jungle's deadly embrace. As the first rays of dawn filtered through the canopy, Maya gathered her squad for a brief moment of reflection. They sat in a circle, the jungle around them slowly waking to life. Birds sang uncertain songs, insects buzzed softly. The world was beginning anew. "Today we honor those we lost," Maya said, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "Their courage gave us strength. Their sacrifice gave us purpose." A silence fell over the group, heavy but healing. Each woman closed her eyes briefly, sending their own quiet thanks into the morning air. The extraction team had arrived, and soon they would leave the jungle behind. But the experience had changed them all forever. The jungle shadows had tested their limits, revealed their fears, and forged their bond into something unbreakable. Maya stood, looking once more at the vast expanse of green that stretched before them. The jungle would continue to hold secrets and dangers, but now it also held the story of their survival and triumph. "Let's head home," she said, her voice carrying a newfound strength. "We've earned it." As they moved toward the waiting helicopters, Maya allowed herself a moment to breathe deeply, to feel the weight of the past days settle into resolve. They had faced the darkness and come out the other side. The jungle would always be a part of their story, a silent witness to their bravery. But Captain Maya Khan and her squad were more than survivors. They were warriors, sisters bound by courage, loyalty, and an unbreakable will. Their journey through the jungle had ended, but their story was just beginning.